Hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation Evening Podcast, guys. It is 8 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. We're here live again to talk about all things Rangers. We're going to focus on the Europa League tonight. That's where our focus is going to be tonight. We're going to talk about obviously the tie upcoming for Rangers against Athletic Bilbao. We're going to talk about all things to do with the Europa League. We'll look at who's left in the competition, how the competition pans out, etc., etc. William, good evening. Evening to Dado as well. Evening to Graham. Yeah, just call me Oscar Cortez. I have managed to fuck my knee up. I haven't got it. Well, I know how I did it. I was being an idiot whilst demolishing something in the garden, and I've absolutely messed my knee up. So I'm really struggling to walk at the moment. Hi to Aldo. Hello to CJ. Hey to Tamsin. Tamsin says, I'd love to see us win the Europa League just to rub Celtic's face in it. Airwolf says, yet again, Lowry not in the Wickham squad, another overrated player. You've got to kind of ask a question, haven't you? What's gone wrong with Alex Lowry? Is there some sort of issue there, with Alex Lowry that's obviously preventing him from playing? Is there something, that is not quite right there with Alex? I think there's a possibility there could be something wrong. Is there a issue with his mentality? Is there an issue with him in training? Look, I suppose, he's not our player anymore. He never, ever really kind of did break through and make a name for himself at Rangers. And you've just got to presume that something obviously has gone very badly wrong there with young Alex. And look, I've got nothing but positive feelings towards the guy. I mean, I wish him all the very best. I don't want to see anything bad happen to Alex. I like Alex, don't get me wrong, but you've got to say that you hope Alex obviously can sort himself out down there, whatever's going wrong. Evening to Grant. Janet we says, obviously, we've been laughing at the super scoreboard, basically. Listening to the meltdown is brilliant. Are we talking about is this the Celtic fans having a meltdown? Is it Janet and Bluebells? Because obviously, we've got nothing to have a meltdown about. I did put a video out earlier talking about the continuing meltdown that was ongoing. It really was hilarious. Absolutely. I can go all those in one place, Janet. Yeah, absolutely. Exactly, Owen. What's the point in mentioning Alex at a new team? Just want to talk about, obviously, the ex-player was brought up, so I'll discuss it a little bit. I just wanted to say all the best to him, obviously, because, it's something that the audience brought up. And one of the things that I always do is if you bring up something to talk about, I'll try and talk about it, because this is a two-way conversation. This is not just me sitting here talking shit for an hour or 45 minutes or half an hour or 35 minutes or whatever we talk through tonight. Look, we're going to talk, like I said, about the Europa League tonight. The reason we're talking, obviously, about general things at this moment in time is obviously we are in the international break. We're obviously in a period where not a lot is happening. We're in a period where we're going to go into international friendlies taking place. We're going to go into talking about, all those international games that are upcoming. I think obviously the biggest hope has to be that, the players that are away with their national teams come back unhurt. I think that's obviously got to be the big thing, hasn't it? But looking ahead to this weekend, you've got the Scotland game. Well, actually, the Scotland game's on Thursday night, 7:45, Greece v Scotland, and then on Sunday the 23rd of March, which is my daughter's birthday, it's Scotland-Greece again in that Nations League playoff game. So interesting there for Scotland, see how they get on against Greece. We'll have a look at that one certainly in the time. Hey to Liz, hope you're doing well. To Liz there. Airwolf says Fraser and McKinnon in and out of their loan spells. Maybe our youth aren't good enough. Maybe now we're seeing why Clermont wouldn't give them a go. I mean, possible there. Possible. I don't know. We don't know how good they are, how bad they are. I think the situation very much with Robbie Fraser is that he never got a fair crack at the whip at Rangers. I think we have got some very good young players. Don't get me wrong. Bailey Rice, Paul Uncio, Archie Stevens, You look at Finley Curtis, you look at those types of players, and you see some real talent there. So you just got to hope they get some sort of fair crack of the whip going forward. Guys, if just a reminder, if you can smash the like tonight, obviously help the channel that way, and also subscribe if you've not yet subscribed. Let's talk about the lack of talk from Stewart and Thornton regards the Lowell letter to the SFA. Why are R2 not coming out on our side? I mean, you've got to look. Like I said, I do want to talk Europa League tonight, but look, Grant obviously has raised this point, and it's a good point. It's a good point. Why have Patrick Stewart and Fraser Thornton not come out and defended Rangers fans, defended Rangers players, come out and actually said something, on this one? And I think in particular, as I mentioned on the video that I released around about 4 o'clock this afternoon, why has no one raised and questioned the whole situation around the throwing of metal objects at our players? You could actually see the police ducking objects being thrown at Rangers players as the Rangers players walk past the Celtic fans. So you've got to question, why are Patrick Stewart and Fraser Thornton not sticking up for the club a little bit more? Why are they not getting a little bit more defensive of our players and our fans? And why is there a radio silence from Ibrox? I think one of the things we all are particularly upset about as regards this board, this management group that we've got in charge at this moment in time, is there is a real situation with, radio silence a lot of the time, and the fans not knowing. And I get, Airwolf, what you mean about, Patrick Stewart could be doing it behind the scenes, but you'd still expect some sort of statement there from the club, to come up and stick it to the Celtic. I'm good, Stephen. How you doing, buddy? Janet says that Spanish mob taking orders from the final cheeky fucks. Yeah, absolutely. Bilbao are a good team, but so are Dortmund and Leipzig. So who knows? Says JM. I mean, that's a great point, JM. That is a fantastic point. And I think to all those people who are writing us off, and there'll be a lot of people writing Rangers off going into these Europa League ties. If you think about when we got to the final in Seville, the teams we beat along the way to get to that final, the Dortmunds, the Leipzigs, the Red Stars, we beat some pretty good teams to get to that final. And we ran Eintracht Frankfurt really close in that final, and we should have probably won the game. But, at the end of the day, you can't write this club off in Europe. It just is not possible. No one expected us to get past Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce. We got past Fenerbahce. No one would have expected us to qualify in the top 8 from the group. From the league phase, sorry. Again, we did it. I'll ask you this: if you go back to that night against Lyon at Ibrox, and Lyon took us to the cleaners, how many of you there would have predicted that Rangers would have been top 8 by the end of that league phase? How many of you would have predicted that we wouldn't need to go into the playoff round? I honestly think that the vast majority of fans and also the vast majority of analysts, pundits, fan media would have looked at that Lyon game, saw us getting an absolute gubbing, and gone, well, we ain't progressing in the Europa League, are we? We're going to be one of the bottom few teams, or at best we might be a playoff team. So look, nobody predicted us to get top 8. Nobody predicted us to go to Nice and win. Nobody predicted us to draw with Olympiacos in Piraeus. No one predicted us to beat Fenerbahce in Istanbul. Anything's possible. Anything is possible. Billy Bell says Bilbao underestimate us, and the first games at Ibrox need to do a job on them at that game and then see what happens in Spain, in my opinion. I'll be honest with you, Blue Bells. I actually feel more confident going to the San Mamés than I do being at Ibrox, because I think our away form in Europe is actually better than our home form in Europe. You look at the games we've won away from home and the places we've gone away from home and won games. Nice, drawn in Piraeus, beat Fener in Istanbul. Our away record in Europe is actually quite good. So I'm not actually worried as much about the away leg at the San Mamés as I am, a little bit more worried about the home leg. We have lost the last 4 games at Ibrox, which is a bit of a worry. Thank you very much. If you spoke shop for us now, I still listen to you. Thank you, Graham. Thank you very much. Owen heard the Rangers have questioned the events involving our fans and they want answers for the Coppers and Septic. Good. Good. Rangers Thursdays are like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. CJ and I, spot on. Scott Hammond says Cherney water is a merchandise dream. New Kent and Brown scenario. Yeah, they could bring out Cherney bottled water, couldn't they? Sutton made a good point. Why can this side do it when the pressure's off? I mean, yes, I agree, but they did it against Fenerbahce. They did it against Nice. They did it in that last game in the Europa League. So was the pressure off in Europe? No, I'd argue the pressure was very firmly on, and they did it in Europe. So you know what I mean? I don't know, mate. This team are schizophrenic this year. They really are absolutely schizophrenic this year. At times they look like absolute world beaters in Europe against some of the top European sides, and then at home they look like an absolute bunch of pub players who've never even played together before. So they're an absolute schizophrenic bunch, mate. Schizophrenic bunch, hugely schizophrenic bunch. Play better away in Europe, this team, absolutely. Bilbao are arrogant, already selling tickets to the final for their fans. They have publicly stated they will put us out. Fear no one. And, you know, look, at the end of the day, we've got, for me, we've got every chance of beating them. Every chance of beating them. Athletic Bilbao play 4-2-3-1. They do. We can get after them, absolutely. The mob hate us that much. They turned up at Porkhead to welcome us. Lol. Play a lot better without the ball as well, in my opinion, says JM. Right, let's have a little look, shall we, at the Europa League, where we're up to, what the situation is, what the current situation is. Okay, so here is the phase finale. This is the draw as it stands for the Europa League. Okay, so this is the draw for the Europa League. Bomber Brown, welcome, Bomber. Good to have you here. Bilbao do not have good results in Europe as people think. Our players are in a good place just now. Ibrox's first leg is going to give them a real reality check. Trust me, Bears. I hope so. I hope so. Certainly not fearing them. I mean, Airwolf, that's a very good point. In Europa, we aren't really expected to do much, and so the pressure is lighter. Probably true. Good point. Good point. Lyon will pump Man U. Right. So look, we look at the ties that are upcoming. So we're at the quarterfinal stage. You know, we've done magnificently to get this far. Evening, John. So Rangers Bilbao. We'll look at that game in a moment. I want to talk about that game a little bit more in a moment. Talk about obviously the hopes, the fears, etc., for that game. But yeah, so let's look at the other ties. So the other ties on our side of the draw is Lyon and Manchester United. Okay, so you've got Lyon and Man United on our side of the draw. So if we were to progress against Bilbao, then we would face either Lyon or Manchester United. Gorgut says, I think we've beaten a couple of sides already. Nothing more to fear. You're right, mate. We've beaten Fener, we've beaten Nice, we've beaten, we've beaten some good teams, and you know, we should have beaten Tottenham. I honestly believe we should have beaten Tottenham at an Ibrox. I think we were unlucky to lose to Manchester United. So you know, look, I don't really fear any of these teams that are left in this tournament. You know, I don't. You know, I honestly think that we are playing the best team in the tournament now at this stage. You know, I think if you look at the teams that are left in this tournament, Spurs, Eintracht Frankfurt, Bodo Glimt, Lazio, Manchester United, Lyon, and Athletic Bilbao, I mean, I think you could make a decent argument that Bilbao are the strongest team left in this tournament. You know, there's a lot of the Spanish national team play for Bilbao. Nico Williams is one of their players, absolutely top class talent. There's some real talent in that team. There is some real talent in that team, and as John says, you've got the fear about Nico Williams. You know, so yeah, absolutely. So look, I mean, look at the Man United Lyon tie. Obviously, the first leg is in France. The second leg is at Old Trafford. I mean, Man United are getting better, certainly, and Amarim's got them playing with a bit more of a tune. Now, I personally would rather play Manchester United in a semi-final than play Lyon in a semi-final. I'd much rather play Man United. I think Man United are a bit more predictable, a bit more, you know, easier to beat, you know, than Lyon. I think Lyon have already beaten us once. I think they're unpredictable. I'd rather take on Manchester United. I think they're the weaker of the two teams. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think Lyon will beat Manchester United and go through to the semi-final because they're a better side, even though they've got all the problems, you know, around the financials and everything else. So I do see Lyon progressing from that tie, and that will be a tough semi-final if we have to face Lyon. But I suppose the thing we can take from it is, you know, very much a case that it could be a revenge game. we've got the situation where they came to Ibrox when Philippe Clement was our manager. Tav was hooked, wasn't he, in that game? And that's certainly something that will hopefully inspire Tav to do better, because he won't want to have that as he's kind of one of his last memories, possibly for playing for the club in the Europa League. So, at the end of the day, you've got to look at this in terms of, Lyon. It could be a revenge match. It could well be a revenge match. Dado says set pieces Bilbao are poor. I mean, certainly something that we can exploit. We seem to have got better at set pieces over recent weeks. Grant says Rangers 2-1 at Ibrox, 1-1 in Bilbao. That would obviously take us through. We'll take that all day long. You've got the fear about Nico Williams. I think we all have. Owen, we have nothing to fear. Give it your best. See where it takes us. Rangers, different team in Europe. They are. Absolutely. Lazio, very good. Would argue Lazio, strongest. Do watch a lot of Serie A. Fair enough. Sean says, I fear on what is happening in upper management. We had an Islamic prayer calls at Ibrox 2 days ago. Lazio will win it, says Dado. Agreed about Lazio being the strongest side left. Lazio want to win. The Pope is trying to... we weren't the bad against Lyon. We had missed early chances. It would have been a different result, says Grant. Hopefully, they'll be looking at each other. Yep. How much do you think the new board will spend this summer? I think we've said 20 to 25 million earlier when we were talking about that. Eintracht are super strong at the moment. They are. Eintracht Frankfurt. They have lost one of their best players, though, haven't they? They lost Omar Mamouche to Manchester City during the January transfer window. He looks a very, very good player. He looks a very talented player. Was it 65, 75 million he cost Manchester City? How the other half live. Absolutely. Bodo Glimt, don't underestimate. Look, I don't think we did, but realistically, I can't see anyone but Lazio progressing from that tie. I think Lazio will progress. I think they will go through. I can't see Bodo. Bodo did well to get past Olympiacos, but I don't think Olympiacos are the team that Lazio are. Lazio are a decent team. I would argue whether they're the strongest team left in the tournament. I think they're unpredictable, Lazio. But I do think, overall, especially if you look at Bilbao being fourth in the Spanish league, I'd say the Spanish league is stronger than Serie A. You've got Barcelona, Atleti, and Real in that league. So I would say that league is a lot stronger than Serie A. So, I would argue that realistically their Lazio will progress from that game. Looking at the other tie, Tottenham versus Frankfurt, I can't see anything but Frankfurt going through. With the first legs at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the second legs in Germany. Frankfurt are a good side. Spurs are a massively awful side this year. They really are struggling. I think come the end of the season, Ange will be looking for a new job. So I do think that there is elements there where Frankfurt will progress. So I believe on the other side of the draw, we'll have a Frankfurt-Lazio semi-final. Now, I would love to get to a final in Bilbao, in Spain, and I'd love to play Frankfurt again. I'd love to play Eintracht Frankfurt again, and I'd love to beat them to get our revenge. That's what I'd love this time round. This is what I'd love to see us do. That's kind of written. It's kind of, I don't know, guys, perhaps I'm kind of dreaming here, but perhaps it's kind of written in the stars that we are to get back to the final this year with an ex-player as manager, like we had when Gio was the manager, and we're destined to play Frankfurt again, and we're destined to beat them this time and get our revenge on them. So there we go. There you go. So Bomber Brown says Frankfurt will get to the final this year. Lyon favourites on our side of the draw, in my opinion. We need to just take it one game at a time, beat Bilbao, and we can start to believe. And yeah, like I said, I do. We are going to reflect. I want to reflect on that game. I just wanted to kind of talk around where we are, how the draw actually looks at this moment in time. Bluebell says there's a rumour the new owners agreed to invest 70 million in the squad over 3 years. FFP allowed. Don't know if that's true. Who knows? I'll look into it. Bluebells. Eintracht will go with Goulet on loan from Real Madrid in the summer. Yeah, he's a decent player. The naming rights for Ibrox will be massive sponsorship. I think that is something that will have to be sold at some point. James Amigo 5 Brady, all the players want to be in the shop window, so they will play their bollocks off. I agree with that one. I think that's perhaps a reason why, we're doing so well in Europe. It's a shop window for a lot of our players, isn't it? It really is a shop window for a lot of our players, and I think a lot of our players look at it and see it as an opportunity to impress. And those who want to get engineer a move, who I think kind of know that at the end of this season they're going to be surplus to requirements at Rangers. Cyril Dessers, James Tavernier, Tom Lawrence, etc. They're looking for a move. They're looking for a club to come in for them, and if they can play well in Europe, if they can impress in Europe, then who knows? Who knows? They could obviously look at, this as an opportunity to really impress. I have a feeling Man U will save their season with this cup. I hope not. It's the Red Bull Stadium, Dado. Allow for big sponsorship, which can be invested in players. Ibrox Red Bull Stadium. I'd be happy enough with that. It's a great drive to. Okay, fine. I'm not going to drive down, man. It will always be Ibrox, no matter what it's called. Very true. Suspect most of the 70 million will be funded by player trading, says Airwolf. Very much. I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the new owners want in terms of the player trading model yet, do we? So look, we'll look at that another day. So, getting back to obviously our game, we are playing Athletic Bilbao. They are a good side, Bilbao. I think it's a tough tie. This is a really, really tough tie. Of course it is. Now, they started off with a 1-1 against Roma in the league phase. They then beat Alkmaar 2-0. They beat Slavia Prague 1-0. They won 2-1 away at Ludogorets. They beat Elfsborg 3-0. They beat Fenerbahce 2-0 in Istanbul. We beat them 3-1. They lost 4-1 to Besiktas in Turkey. They won 3-1 against Victoria Plitzen, who are not a great side. They lost 2-1 in the first leg of the round of 16 to Roma. They then beat Roma 3-1 at home to progress 4-3 on aggregate. Look, you look at their European form, and I'll be honest with you, it's not great, is it? It's not brilliant. Yes, they finished second. They've won 6, drawn 1, lost 1. But the teams they played weren't the strongest of teams, were they? I mean, if you look at who they beat to get to this point, Alkmaar, again, I'd fancy us against Alkmaar. Slavia Prague, I'd fancy us against Slavia Prague. Ludogorets, I'd fancy us to beat Ludogorets. Elfsborg, I'd fancy us to beat Elfsborg. We beat Fenerbahce. They lost to Besiktas. I'd fancy us to give Besiktas a game. Victoria Plitzen, I'd fancy us to beat them. Roma, I'd fancy us to give them a game. So they haven't really beaten anyone yet that I would call, a tough out. I would say that you look at it, and we've actually had a tougher run to this point than they have. If you look at who we played in the league phase, Tottenham, Manchester United, Nice, Olympiacos, Lyon. We played, I think, some tougher teams than they did to get to this point. So, hey, I think that's certainly for me, shows that perhaps, we're at a point where they're not perhaps this unbeatable force that some people are kind of painting them out to be. That they're not, because they play in La Liga, just because they're fourth in La Liga, they're not this unstoppable force that we can't beat. You look at, we beat Fenerbahce, who are second in their league. We've beaten, you go back to that run to the final in Seville. We beat Dortmund, who were, I would argue, better than the team that Celtic lost 7-1 to. They had some very good players. Marco Reus was playing for them at the time. For example, Mats Hummels was playing for them at the time. They had some very good players. So we've got a track record of doing well against big teams in Europe, of punching above our weight. And, those results, like I said, who have they beaten to get to this point? Yes, they beat Roma, but other than that, their passage through the league phase wasn't massively impressive. They had, I would say, quite an easy draw to get that second place. That's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Wonder what the odds are for all teams. I think it gets about 10-1, says Stuzo. Thierry says, where can we buy the Glasgow Rangers Nation Super Soakers? Thought there we go. We'll have a little look at that. They want a lot of time on the ball, play them hard. They will not like it. Bad news is there is a bit no man's land in the league, 8 points ahead of Villarreal. Not sure, just wondering. Bluebells says, we've done all right on the second tier Spanish teams in recent years. Betis, Villarreal record before that's horrendous, though. I mean, look, yes, it isn't the best, but like I said, this Bilbao team, although they're talented and although they're fourth in La Liga, like I said, their results to this point have not been hugely impressive. They have not really gone and put down a marker against any of the top teams in Europe. And like I said to you, I would argue that we've had a tougher run to this point than they have. They've not played any English Premier League clubs. We've played 2 English Premier League clubs. And look, as much as people may hate the English Premier League and may hate Manchester United and may hate Tottenham, you'd argue that both Tottenham and Manchester United are much tougher teams to play against than any of the teams that Bilbao have played at to this point. So I would say that we've had a much tougher run to this point, to get to this point. Bluebell says we've done all right. I read that point, sorry. Bilbao have to play a night game, so they only get 2 days recovery. Good news. Had some tricky games, but nothing major that we have to be dealt with us. Rangers are 16-1 to win the Europa League outright. Good price. Get your money on. Really need to watch out for Nico Williams. Fantastic footballer. Yeah, I mean, he is. He's a Spanish international. He's a quality player. Yeah, he is the player to watch, isn't he, at the end of the day? Betis were unbeaten at home for 2 years before we beat them. There we go. I mean, look, everybody is beatable. I don't subscribe to this point that that there are invincible teams. You've only got to look at the absolute bottle that Liverpool are currently doing. You look at the situation with them. You would have got to that PSG game and thought, well, look, Liverpool, they're top of the league. They're in the Champions League. They won the Champions League phase. They're in the Carabao Cup final. Now they're out of the FA Cup. They lost the Carabao Cup to Newcastle. They're out of the Champions League. And you know what? I could actually see them bottling the Premier League and Arsenal winning the Premier League. I really could genuinely see that happening. So look, nobody is unbeatable. Nobody is unbeatable. John Lammy says, evening, John. How you doing, buddy? Now, we have played against Bilbao in the past, actually, a long time ago, 1969 to be precise. So back in 1969, we played them in the Fairs Cup quarterfinal, first leg, quarterfinal, second leg. And again, look, I'm not one to say that history repeats itself. I'm not one to say that, that we're going to have the same result. But this was the Fairs Cup. This was the quarterfinals. This was the first leg was played at Ibrox. The second leg was played in Bilbao. We won the home leg and we lost the away leg. So, you know what? I would take that. I would absolutely take that on in this game upcoming. If we could beat them 4-1 at home and lose them 2-0 away, I'd absolutely 100% take that. 100% take that to get through. So, we have played them before and we have beat them before. So it's not like we're going into, to anything different there. Dada says that was my first game at Ibrox. What Dada? Your first game at Ibrox was the Bilbao game in 1969. How old were you, mate? In that's mental. That's mental. Agreed, Owen. It's 11v11. Anything can happen in any game. Absolutely. Airwolf says, can Celtic get 10 in a row? T-shirt, red bubble. Rangers announced a new sponsorship deal for next season. Highland Spring Water. Funny, mate. Funny. I love some of the stuff you guys come up with. It's hilarious. Yes, 5 years old. So back in 1969, the little 5-year-old Dado Perso's blue boots, although I doubt you were called that back then, went to Ibrox and saw us beat Athletic Bilbao. Dado, any memories from that night? Anything you remember from that night that you want to share on the live chat tonight? It'd be great to have a bit of input from someone who was actually there. Share something. Type if you want to type in a few messages, do it, and we'll bring it up on the screen. But look, we're going to play Bilbao, and I'm not going to say that this is going to be an easy out. It's not going to be an easy out. Of course it's not. It definitely isn't. But it's a competition that we've got a proud history in. It's a competition that we do well in. It really is. It really is. And I'm not worried. I'm not as worried about this as I am about even the game against Dundee away at Dens Park. I'm probably more worried about the two Bilbao games. Can't imagine us winning the Europa League. Would be mental if this team take that performance from Sunday into next season. We will smash them, says Dave J. Absolutely, Dave J. Welcome. Any new song request? Why does it always rain on me? You were meant to says water everywhere, and the Tims would still smell of pish. Pretty much agree with that one, mate. Pretty much agree with that one. Bilbao lost first home game in the league phase, says Airwolf. Look, like I said, I really don't think that we need to, as a fan base or as anyone, as fan media, build Bilbao up to be something they're not. They're not. They're not supermen. They're not supermen. Just because they play in La Liga does not make them supermen. Just because they've got to this stage does not make them supermen. So you know, crazy. Dada says he found pound notes outside the ground. There we go. Those of you who remember pound notes, shows showing our age. Dada, I remember pound notes. I remember my grandparents giving me them for pocket money. Interesting fact about Nico Williams' brother Inaki: played 2 years and 2 centimeters shard of glass in his left foot. Didn't know it was there. Bloody hell, that's crazy, mate. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. Rangers are going to come out wet. Funny. Now look, we look at the ties that are upcoming, and obviously, you know, we've got Bilbao. We've got the home leg, then we've got a game against Aberdeen, and then we've got the away leg. So I think it's the 10th of April is the game against Bilbao at home, and then we play Aberdeen on the 12th or 13th, I can't remember now, and then we play the Bilbao game on the 17th. Now, my personal view on this, and this is just my personal opinion on this, and please feel free to disagree with me, is I would say we need to really prioritize the Europa League now. Really say that the Europa League is our focus this season, because look, we've got one more firm game left, which obviously we've got to put a focus into. We're going to finish second this season. We're not going to not finish second this season. The focus now has to be on being as competitive as possible in the Europa League, on fielding the best possible team, on making sure that when our players go into those games, they are as rested as possible, that they are as raring to go as possible. And I would say, honestly, what we need to do, going forward, and I don't know whether Barry will do this, because I don't think it would sit well with him, given the fact that he is as a manager who seems to want to pick his strongest 11 for every single game. Is I would say that what we need to do is, in the league, perhaps play some of the younger players, some of the squad players, rotate some of the more experienced players out, give, the likes of Raskin a rest, give the likes of Suter a rest, give the likes of Dio a rest, make sure that they're raring to go for those Europa League ties. I certainly wouldn't be risking them against Dundee or risking them at Pittodrie. I mean, look, we go up to Pittodrie in between those two legs. Rest assured, they're going to kick the crap out of us in that game of Pittodrie. One, because they always do, because they fight like absolute tigers, or as Chris Kamara once said, they fight like beavers. Against us, it's their Champions League final, and they're going to be getting stuck into us, and we don't want to lose any of our players for that return leg in Bilbao. So I really, going forward, and if we progress to the semi-finals, the final, I would be solely really targeting the Europa League and saying, right, domestically, we're going to finish second. We can't win anything domestically. So in those domestic games against those lesser teams, we play the likes of Finlay Curtis. We play the likes of Bailey Rice. We play the likes of Clinton and Ciala. We play the likes of Mason Munn. We rest some of the players to make sure they're fresh, ready, and raring to go for that Europa League tie. Now, I don't know about you, but we looked at some of the Europa League, some of the Champions League teams that progressed the other day. They were the teams that rested a lot of their starting 11s the weekend before, whereas the Champions League teams that played a lot of their starting 11s and then went into their ties on Tuesday, Wednesday night, lost the game. So I really want to see Barry kind of, from now on, prioritizing the Europa League, looking at the Europa League as been the big target for this, and using the young players who haven't really featured recently, which is a bit of a shame, in those games, and give them their head, give them their ability to go out and play. Put in Bailey Rice, put in Finlay Curtis, put in Paul Incio. Let's see what we've got in them. But in the Europa League, go with our strongest 11, and make sure the players are rested, ready for those games. Well, we've got else here. Thierry says, Owen, what would be a good scoreline to take over there for second leg? Will a draw do, or do we need to win at Ibrox? I would say a win at Ibrox is an absolute must. A 2-0, something like that would be absolutely spot on, or a 3-1. I think 2 clear goals gives you a bit of breathing space. I think we've got to take a positive result over there. Any sort of positive result, I believe. My first Ibrox game was 74, says Grant. I just got £10 note out of my daughters to laugh at them. New mentality, so we can do anything in this competition, says James Amigo 5 Brady. We can't concede any more than 2 goals at Ibrox to go over to Bilbao. Agree. I think Dio and Soapy are suspended for the Bilbao game. For the first. Oh, yeah, they are for the first leg. Absolutely. Sorry, I forgot about that, Stu. So the players will be on a high after 2 amazing back-to-back results for what feels like the first time this season. I heard we'll be coming out to Scoosh. Funny. We got to the last 8 not having our strongest 11. Agreed. Well done. Good shout, man. Good shout. Take a 1-0 or just score draw. Just then go to Spain. Just met Kamara in Tenerife. Fair enough. That'd be cool. Barami will score in Spain. I hope he does. Brian Nairn says Athletic are just under top 4. If we can get a result away when they're hosting the final, then we have everything to go for. Absolutely. 100% top guy. Biggest concern for me is Soapy and Dio out for the first leg. Soapy more so, who plays proper, and Ciala, it's a worry. I think they'll go with the back 3 against Bilbao. Sterling, proper, and Ciala, or Sterling, proper, and Balogun, I think will be the back 3. Maybe put Balogun in the centre of those 3 to run it, to control it, and Balogun will talk proper and Sterling through the game. I think, if you put Balogun in for the Suter role, you're not really weakening the team. Yes, not having Soapy is a massive loss. I think, because you all know what I think of John Suter. You think he's a great player, but yes, he's just suspended. But having him back for the second leg will be fantastic, and also the fact I think we have got Big Leon that can come in and take over there. So for me, that will be positive. Absolutely positive. Paul McCorrickle, welcome, Paul. How you doing? Yes, I agree. Suter and Dio will be a massive, massive miss. I mean, especially Dio. I mean, if you look at Dio's form against Fenerbahce, against Celtic, he's absolutely run the game. He's absolutely run the game. He really has. And I believe that, him not being there alongside Barron and Raskin will be a massive miss. Now, how we replace him, maybe Hadji comes in there and plays in his stead. I mean, Hadji is a very, very good footballer. And, does replacing Dio with Hadji substantially weaken the team? I would say not. I would say it doesn't substantially weaken the team, because Yanis Hadji is a very good player. And I think, the way that Spanish teams play more suits Hadji. The slower build-up, the slower passing, does suit Hadji. So I honestly think that there is an element there where having Hadji over Dio will actually not hurt us at home. I need to actually beat them at Ibrox. Support need to be on top form that night. Let's get on top full ball chasers. I agree. And I think Ibrox will be rocking, mate. I think it will be absolutely rocking. We know what a Thursday night under the lights at Ibrox is like. It's the best in the world. Balogun hasn't been great the past couple of games, in my opinion. Love the big man, but he's been sloppy. I think he was tired against Celtic. I think with Leon, you've got to be careful. You cannot play him 3 times in a week. You just can't do it. Or play him twice. I don't think you can play him weekend, midday to either. I think you've got to either play him midweek and then not again, or you play him at the weekend and then you don't play him midweek. I don't think at his age he can cope with those games in quick succession. I don't think his body can recover fast enough. And I think some elements of, yes, I agree, against Celtic he was sloppy with some of those back passes to Jack Butland. But I think some elements of that is down to the fact he was actually mentally and physically fatigued after the Fenerbahce game. Gents, make no mistakes. Fenerbahce were better than us on Thursday. Bilbao and no Fenerbahce. We need to beat our absolute best in both games. Absolutely, 100% agreed. Who do you start up front, Dessers or Igerman? Personally, I start Igerman. I think he's more of a threat. I think his movement is better. I think his movement will worry the Spanish defenders. I think his control up, his hold up play is better. And I trust him to take a chance. Look, don't get me wrong. Cyril Dessers, respect to the guy, has done very well recently. Has scored a lot of goals, has done well, and he's played well. I mean, that game against Fenerbahce out in Istanbul, he ran his arse off. He did really well. He worked his backside off. Fair play to him. He did really, really well. But to me, he still worries me with his consistency. So I would go with Hamza, just because consistently Hamza is slightly better in the Europa League than he is domestically, and he's better than Dessers in the Europa League. I mean, it could even be a wild card. We've got Danilo. Does Danilo come in, and do we go with Danilo and Hamza up top in the home tie? Do we go 4-4-2 and really go for them? Do we do that, and do we put Hamza and Danilo up top and give them something to really worry about? I don't know. I don't know. We need to sort out the Ibrox form. Fuck's sake, we haven't lost all season. Now it's record losses. Agreed, we do need to sort it out. 4 back-to-back is not good at all. Love Leon, but we need to splash the cash and a good centre-back. We do. And as I said this morning, Bobby, on the summer clear-out video, we do need to buy a centre-back. I agree. He has 100%. I love Big Leon Mays. You'll never, ever hear me say anything bad about Big Leon. The man is just awesome. Mark my words, Dessers is going to score the winner in the final. Dave, look, if Cyril Dessers scores the winner in the final, if James Tavernier scores the winner in the final, there will be no more happier person than me. Absolutely not. Dessers is a great player, squad player to have. I think he's 30, so time to accept a bid. I agree. I think, Stuart, in the summer, he does need to be moved on because, as I said on the video this morning, he's 30 years old. He's not going to get any better, and it may be now that teams are looking at him and seeing a player who, realistically he's scoring goals, and they may want to splash some cash on him. It's particularly Italian teams like Cagliari, who were reportedly interested in January. So, look, if Cagliari were to come in with a 5.5 million pound bid for Dessers, I'd take the money. I'd take the money and run for the hills. I really, really would. Do you think we'll splash the cash for Tierney in the summer? I hope so, Thierry. I hope so. I mean, my personal dream, Thierry, is this summer we sign Tierney, we sign Seema, and we have Tierney on the right, Seema on the left, and we have Hamza in the middle or a new striker in the middle. I would love to have Seema and Tierney there. And I've got to say, Thierry, I love the water pun in the question. Paul McCoracle says his team is Sterling, Tav, Proper, Balogun, Ridvan, Raskan, Barron, Igaman, Tierney, and Dessers. Interesting. Paul, how are you using Igman and Dessers in that formation? Is it Igman once? Is it what have we got here? So we've got Proper and Balogun. You've gone for 3 at the back, I take it, with Sterling as a wing. I'd personally be more inclined to put Tav as a wing back. I actually thought Tav was really good as a wing back on Sunday. I think Dujon's better at right side centre back, and I think Tav is a good wing back because it takes away what he's bad at. He's bad at defending. It allows him to get forward and use the ball and attack. So I would go with. I would personally go with Sterling at right side centre back and Tav as a wing back. Let me know if you agree, Paul. So Paul's going for Igaman in the 10 role. So 3-5, yeah. So 3-4, yeah. I think that would work. That would work certainly. Just didn't say you. I'm not going to get his name touted anywhere near me. Don't worry about it. Tav's in form for once. Look, I mean, you've heard me absolutely slaughter Tav on these podcasts. You certainly have, and I've done that. And I actually thought that against Fenner and against Celtic on Sunday, that he did really, really well. He played well. I mean, the block tackle against Fenerbahce, stopped them from scoring. I thought he did really well. Fair play to the lad. And I think, to be honest with you, the move that Barry made on Sunday, playing him as a wing back, I think worked a lot better. I think it really did work a lot better. I think that, it gave him freedom to get forward. It gave him freedom to link with the attack. He linked the defense and the attack. He didn't have to worry as much about getting back because he knew that Sterling was there to cover. He knew obviously the defensive midfielders there to cover. It gave him a bit of freedom to move. And I actually think we got the best out of Tav by him doing that. And look, yeah, Tav is shit at defending. He's awful at defending, but going forward, he's quite good. And he does cause teams a concern. And teams, whether we rate Tav, don't rate Tav, opposition teams worry about him because they think he's a goal-scoring threat from right back. So they will divert attention to him. And I think that Bilbao will as well. So, it will perhaps cause gaps for other players. That's my belief. That's my belief. Given the takeover, we need to push and getting to the final again. Would be proposed new owners stick with Barry and the staff, given the way the players are playing since Clement went. Yeah, look, possible. We will talk about Barry and the management at another time. Which I obviously I want to focus on, trying to focus on the Europa League tonight. We might win the Europa League because of Barry. Tav was at fault for Celtic's first goal, but overall it was pretty good. Maida tried to put Tav off his game, but it didn't work. Yeah, I mean, for the first time in a long time, Maida didn't really have any change out of Tav, did he? So I think he actually did quite well. They might price us out for Czerny, knowing the 49ers have cash. Possible. Butland actually looked like a keeper as well. Far bit slim at the other end, was woeful. Yeah, I thought he played. Butland did actually do quite well on Sunday. I thought he was very, very good on Sunday. But, going back to this Europa League, I think, for me, it's about prioritising this Europa League going forward. It really is. And look, domestically, like I said, the season's done domestically. It's over domestically. We've got, obviously, the few games left before the split, and we've got the split. The only game that kind of means anything between now and the end of the season domestically is the Old Firm derby at Ibrox, and winning that and having a hat-trick of Old Firm victories. And, I read something the other day, what's really weird is we could win 3 out of 4 Old Firm games this season and finish 10 points behind them, which really shows, doesn't it, that losing games against the shit teams has really cost us, massively cost us this season. It really has. Shite hole. Did you see the top? Yeah, it was he pulled off some fantastic slaves tassitunes in that game, didn't he? Gary from Miami, how you doing, buddy? How's Miami tonight? We can get into another final. We do have that European magic, and we've just got to believe. I think that's part of it. Believe, guys. Believe in our talent. Believe that we can get there. Anything is possible. Personally, don't think we can afford to pay 7 million plus on one player. We need about 8 to 10 new players in and out, and there won't be much money coming in from the outgoings. I mean, a lot depends, Bluebells, on how much the 49ers commit to the squad redevelopment. It really does. If they're willing to give us 25 million pounds, then 7 million still leaves you 18 million to go and sign other players. So I wouldn't say that it's unobtainable. I mean, I'd love to see us have Czerny and Seema next season. I really would. Seema's amazing. I love Seema. I'm a huge Seema fan. Gorgut says, play the reserves in the league from now on. Concentrate on the Europa League. 100% agree. And like I said, I'm not opposed to targeting the Europa League and then in domestic competition, apart from against Celtic, going with some of the younger players, giving some of the younger players a go, giving some of the squad players a go, having a look at, and I think part of it as well is looking at next season, give Bailey Rice domestic games, give Finley Curtis domestic games, give Paul Uncio domestic games. If it is that Finley Curtis, Bailey Rice and Paul Uncio, for example, come in, play well, look good domestically, then it's saving us a shit ton of money. It's saving us a lot of money. It's saving us money on players, because we know that in Curtis, in Rice, in Uncio, we've got players who can cope at this level, and we don't perhaps need to spend cash in their positions. It allows us to go and obviously succeed and win in those circumstances. Tassitunes says, our last European trophy was in the Cup Winners' Cup, and the Cup Winners' Cup was won in Barcelona. Barcelona is in Catalonia. Catalonia is a province with a very strong sense of national identity. Athletic Bilbao play in the Basque Country. The Basque Country, again, is a province with a very, very strong sense of national identity. Andalusia, where we played the final against Seville, doesn't have a strong sense of national identity. It has a very strong Spanish identity. Guys, perhaps I'm clutching at straws here, looking for these patterns. Maybe I am. I don't know. But look, I mean, let's go back to that graphic for a minute. May says we're a global brand. The 49ers can afford to put some serious money in, knowing they'll get a lot. And I think this is the thing, Mays, they know that by getting into the European competitions, and hopefully we get into the Champions League, that's I think the big thing there. If we can play Champions League football next season, and you heard on the video that I did the other day, comparing the money you earn in the Champions League for group stage wins and for progressing it in the Champions League to money you earn in the Europa League, it's night and day. Mark Dowie, new name. Welcome, Mark. Welcome. You have to blend them younger lads in or loan them out to Hearts. Yeah, you do. And I think, we do need to start to see Finley Curtis, Bailey Rice, Paul Uncio, Archie Stevens, etc., etc. Bluebells says, they only sign Basque players. Correct, they only do sign Basque players, but they've got some very good Basque players. Stuart, thank you so much, mate. Means a lot, really does. Let's hope the new owners make us great again. Absolutely. Dado says, Leeds United is a big team in Yorkshire. They are a big team in Yorkshire. They're not even one of the biggest teams in England, mate. The biggest teams in England are the two Manchester clubs, Liverpool, Arsenal, they're the big clubs in England. If you're looking at who are the big clubs in England, the big clubs in England are Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Arsenal. They're the big clubs in England. Yes, you can talk about Chelsea and Aston Villa and Leeds and those clubs. Yes, they are big clubs, but they are not massive clubs. They are not global brand clubs in the same way that we are. Newcastle United, you could perhaps include in that. They are a massive club as well. You could probably include them in it, because of their fan base. But, in terms of huge clubs in England, Leeds United wouldn't be, I would say, in the top 6, top 8 top English clubs. You'd be looking, like I said, at Manchester United, Manchester City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Villa, Tottenham, Newcastle, Chelsea, teams like that above them. Definitely. The players you mentioned are highly rated young players by FIFA rankings. All they need is game time and will pay off dividend. That's what I've said. And Golguts, go back across my videos. I have advocated for these young players all the way through. I've talked about using Bailey Rice, using Paul Finley Curtis, using Paul Ncio, using Archie Stevens, using these young lads. They can do it. They can cope at this level. The say-bye button on Sunday was Griegsy. We have shown a lot of grit since Clement. I don't think we should fear anyone in the Europa League. I think the takeover, we could be held to ransom for Tierney. Possible, but yeah, I agree. We can spend 25 to 30 million without FFP affecting us, but also with a big shirt sponsorship, that money could rise. Absolutely, Paul. I think, that is the money that has certainly been indicated, isn't it? By the initial takeover talks, that the amount of money that will be spent on new players is 20 to 25 million. And you're spot on with that, mate. Paul, welcome. Paul, I know you don't always come on the pods, and you make some fantastic points. I'd love to make you a moderator. Do you want to be a moderator? Let me know. Mark says you need to experienced players in your team for young lads to blend in. Robbie Fraser is the other guy doing well. Yeah, I like Robbie Fraser. I'm a massive Robbie Fraser fan. Mark says, would Gareth no, just no, mate. I do not want that man anywhere near our football club. If you look at him as a manager, mate, if you look at him as a manager, he was awful domestically. His only achievement domestically was getting Middlesbrough relegated. That was his one achievement. So I would say no, mate. That would be great trying Scotsman, but would he leave Brighton? I would say probably not. Brighton are probably going to qualify for Europe this season. I can't see that happening. So realistically, mate, I don't think that's a goer. I don't think that is a goer at all, unfortunately. But yeah, it's a good one. It really is. It's a good shot. Fabian Hurlitzer will be a great manager. He's done a brilliant job at Brighton. De Zerbi would be a great manager. And perhaps I'm stupid in believing this, and please, obviously, feel free to correct me, but I don't think the manager will be one of the names you are expecting. Now, I think if I asked you now, who do you expect to be manager? You were going to say Knutson, you were going to say Lampard, you're going to say Muscat, you're going to say McInnes, you're going to say Gerrard. That's who I think, you guys are going to say. I don't personally think that any of those guys will be manager. I believe that the new manager will be someone we have not even thought of yet. I genuinely do. I don't think that we will have any of those managers. I think it will be somebody new. Let's have a quick look at some points you've just raised. Jose, I'd take him. Who wouldn't? Not sure how it works, but FFP or whatever it's called now has some allowance for the first year of a takeover. If it gets wiped from the calculations, I don't know. I'd have to look into. I haven't done a lot of research into it, mate. If I'm being honest with you. If we get turned over at Ibrox in the Europa, would you put the youngsters out in the second leg, see what happens? No, I'd go for it in the second leg. Go for it. Yeah, he's going to be the new Real Madrid manager, mate. I can't see that happening. Thomas Frank, good shout, but again, is he going to leave Brentford? I don't think so. Yeah, cool. Wagner is one of the favourites still. Is that the former Norwich manager, Bluebells? Is that the former Norwich manager? I still think Gerrard should be a contender. I think he is a contender. I just don't think it will be him. Will not bring Steven Gerrard back, walked away. Graham Souness warned Steven Gerrard he wasn't ready for England. What about Muscat? Yeah, I think he's one of the managers that's being discussed, but I don't think he will be the new manager. I don't think that'll happen. Xabi would be a great manager, Taciturns, but he's going to Real Madrid. I think that's honestly what's happening with him. The talk seems to be that Ancelotti will leave Real this summer, and that the new Real Madrid manager will be Xavi Alonso. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Wagner's a decent manager. Wagner's a good manager. He did all right for Norwich, with a limited budget. David Wagner is also Jurgen Klopp's best mate. I don't know if anybody knows that. If any of you have watched the documentary from Doubters to Believers, or whatever it's called, on Netflix, the Jurgen Klopp documentary. I watch all the football documentaries. I watched the Bielsa one. I watched that one. I've watched all the All or Nothing ones. I love watching football documentaries. It's the one thing I do like to watch as my dog barges into the room. But David Wagner is one of Jurgen Klopp's best mates. Is that something we can obviously get to access? Now, the thing you kind of got to take from that is not only is David Wagner one of Jurgen Klopp's best mates, but Jurgen Klopp is also head of Red Bull now. Wagner hasn't managed since he left Norwich City. He's got a pretty good track record. He's managed Schalke. He's managed Huddersfield Town in the Premier League. He's managed young boys, Celtic like that. He could be a Celtic manager with a CV like that. What do people think about Kevin Muscat as next manager? I'm not opposed to that, Mark. I like Kevin Muscat. I think he would bring a fast, hard, aggressive, attacking style of football. I think he'd do very well domestically. I don't think he'd do as well in Europe. I think he'd do really well in the Scottish League. I think he'd be another Ange. I think, again, he would do well domestically, but not good in the European competition, just like Ange. I think the 49er era will already know who. Yeah, I do too. Not yet. Litigation, I don't think there's a chance of that happening. He's just taken over Everton. Everton are newly rich. I can't see that happening. Arteta, again, can't see him leaving Arsenal. Arsenal aren't going to let him go. So, isn't he the Germany manager? I can't see him leaving that. He hasn't learned in 4 years. You need a world-class striker to win that league. That's Arteta. Yeah, that's very true. Good choice, Kevin Muscat says. Fantastic, Mr. Fox. Dado Perso suggests Sebastian Hearn, the Stuttgart manager. Like I said, I'll be honest with you. I don't think the manager is going to be someone that we expect. I think that a lot of people are talking about Muscat, Gerrard, McInnes, etc., etc. I do think it's going to be somebody different. I think it really will. I think they will have their own men in mind. They will already be doing that. Muscat, he'd know the Asian market. He certainly would. And look, I think, Niels Koppen is all about accessing those markets that are not as well-defined markets, aren't they? So, yeah, I agree with you. What about the Nottingham Forest manager? Well, Nuno Espirito Santo. Again, I can't see that happening. They're likely to be in the Champions League next season, so I can't see that happening. Moroccan guy, I don't think it'll be him trying Scotsman. I don't think it'll be him. Yeah, I agree, mate. There's some fantastical names. Let's just go the whole aspect and go for that. Say that some people are on something. Has anyone seen Iggerman's goal, but with the Italian commentary? It's absolutely fun. I haven't seen that, mate. Thierry, drop me a link somewhere. I'd love to watch it. I do speak a bit of Italian, so yeah, it'd be good to watch that. Look, getting back to what we were talking about, the Europa League, before we got sidetracked by managers, I honestly believe that that there's every chance we can progress in this competition, that we can do well. Yeah, and also Ross Wilson's the director of sport, sporting director there. He ain't gonna let anyone come to Rangers, mate. So yeah, I think Nuno Espirito Santo isn't. And like I said, they're going to get Champions League football, aren't they? So he ain't going to leave there. Right, I'm going to call this now. Frankfurt will go through out of Frankfurt Spurs, and Lazio will go through out of Bodo versus Lazio. I think Frankfurt will get to the final. Rangers will beat Bilbao. Lyon will beat Man United. And Rangers will beat Lyon and will play Frankfurt in the final again. That's my prediction. Guys. Like it, don't like it. Who knows? Who knows? What else have we got here? Does anyone know if managers' wages come under FFP? No, they don't. I don't think they do. I think no, they do. I think all wages come under FFP. It's not like America. In America, they have a salary cap, and it's only the players' wages that come under it. It's only the player wages that come under it. It's the coaching staff. There's no salary cap for coaches. You can spend as much as you want on coaches, but I don't think it does in this country. I think in Europe, it's got to be your revenue has got to come under that, and that includes all wages in terms of playing staff, managing staff. I think I might be wrong. I might be wrong. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It's been a pleasure speaking to you as always here on the pod. Look, Europa League, every chance that we can progress. Look, positive. Let's be positive about this. Let's be positive we can do well. Okay, Mark says, it's look, characters, structure, leadership going into the quarter final. Team's good, pick up a few injuries. So we don't pick up a few injuries yet. Rangers 20-1. I've got 20 quid on if the Europa League final winners keep believing. Third time lucky. Agreed. Yeah, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. As always, on the way out, please like, subscribe, share, comment, all that fabulous stuff. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 10:30, so please come and join us for tomorrow morning's pod. I haven't decided on the topic yet for tomorrow morning's pod. If there's anything you'd particularly like us to discuss, then come and join us. We're also going to be live tomorrow evening as well at 8 o'clock. It will be a Q&A tomorrow evening, so please come and join us for that. Thank you for watching. As always, guys, please remember, never forget we are the people.